Good morning, everybody. This is a live update with a mega trough ejection expected on Friday night through Saturday night. Looks like a long period of severe weather potential across portions of the southeastern Great Plains, mid-south, and eventually even the southeastern U.S. as well. So I'm going to break down the new models that are available now, those 12Z models coming up here, and show you that trough ejection. It looks like I'll be chasing this event starting Friday night, possibly near the Memphis area, and then I'll likely track all the way across the state of Tennessee, and then that tornadic squall line could arrive here in upstate South Carolina by Saturday evening, and I plan to chase it the whole entire way. I wanted to show you this new live thumb that I'm working on. Of course, I use the Manchester tornado in the background. I hope that it doesn't elude that the Manchester tornado is happening live, but that I'm just doing a live update in general on tornado potential. But wanted to show you guys that thumb. You can see it here first. There's the thumb with the Manchester tornado. That was back in 2003, June 24, 2003. So now I'm going to talk to you about the mega trough ejection that is going to be happening on Friday night. And it does seem to merge with a little southern stream system as well. Confidence definitely increasing on the threat of a mega trough ejection too, and the attendant threat of a tornado outbreak. Here is that loop of the 500 millibar trough pattern, and I just made the leap up to Pivotal Weather Plus, so I'm now a subscriber as a hobbyist on here, and that should give me access to some more visual tools that I could share with you during these weather outbreaks, including satellite imagery. And it'll also look at the very end of that range, at the end of the GFS. You can see another trough ejection, but that's the one right there. That the one is at the end that is also of interest. Looks like we have found ourselves in a very active pattern, but it's the one at the beginning of the loop right there that then moves off the east coast. That's the mega trough ejection that we're talking about. And it looks like that next one coming up is going to be more of a snowmaker for the state of Colorado coming up at the very end of the forecast period. Looks like a big bowling ball of an ejection. So definitely is a very favorable pattern as well for skiers that are out there and looking for some snow. Definitely is a great pattern for that, one after another. But it's also a very good pattern for severe weather too, and it's a little bit more of a complex trough ejection than it might appear. You kind of have this little bit of a wave in the southern stream waiting down here in Baja. Then you have the stronger wave. This is on Thursday afternoon. You've got the stronger wave diving south through California, and it's going to pick up this wave as well. This is going to help to amplify the system over the Four Corners and help maintain its amplitude as it ejects across the southern plains. Look at that. It merges at the base of the trough and then helps to deepen the trough by the development of shear vorticity at the base of the trough. It's neutrally tilted here upon ejection from the Four Corners and pumping out over the plains. And look at that jet streak. This is on Friday afternoon. Very large slug of strong mid and upper tropospheric flow ejecting over the central and southern U.S. I'll likely be in the Memphis area by this time, by Friday afternoon, slinging live updates there from near the Mississippi River, waiting for this trough to eject. This is a bit of a lead jet streak that ejects out ahead of this monster trough. But you can see there's still plenty of flow on the backside of this that'll help maintain its amplitude across Tornado Alley. And then as it ejects overnight on Friday, I think Friday night is going to be when this outbreak really begins. And usually on just to the east of these troughs, that's where the surface low will form. And then that surface low will eject through the central U.S. It looks like northern Missouri up toward the northern Great Lakes with time, bringing with it a front that surges all the way through the mid-south and eventually into the southeastern U.S. as well. And this is by Friday at sunset at about 7 p.m. Still a ton of flow on the backside, still digging. Even a hint at a positive tilt as it's moving out over the Great Plains. And then a huge belt of flow downstream. And now let's go to 850. This is about a kilometer above the ground. Multiple state area of 50 to 70 knots at a kilometer above the ground happening here over the central U.S. That includes Missouri, down through the central lower Mississippi River Valley, the Ohio River Valley as well. This is your massive low-level jet. When you get the ejection of a megatrough, then you get a very favorable low-level wind shear over multiple states, 6, 7, 8 state region here. And that is just the 850 flow downstream of a very powerful ejecting trough. And we could just track the stronger Stronger flow as this accelerates about a kilometer above the ground. That low-level jet, 60, 70 knots there across multiple states. The nose of that low-level jet reaching all the way up to Michigan. The strongest flow right at the Michigan border at about 9 or 10 p.m. Friday evening. Tornado outbreak will be in progress by this time throughout the warm sector. Likely a front as well, right along the squall line back into Missouri, St. Louis area, even up to Chicago could have severe weather, down toward Memphis, the entire state of Kentucky, the entire state of Mississippi, Tennessee, northern Alabama as well. Very favorable conditions and low-level shear for a tornado outbreak over multiple states. You can just see that massive low-level jet there out ahead of this megatrough. And you go through to closer to midnight time frame, and it accelerates even further. You got 70 knot flow here in yellow, 70 knots all the way up to Toledo, up to Detroit area, 70 knot low-level jet. You're going to have multiple lines, bands of supercell storms here moving through this warm sector, one right along the cold front. You'll have prefrontal confluence lines as well, little areas of confluence that will help to develop storms. And you can see this acceleration of the low-level jet in the southern mode too, all the way down into Mississippi and Alabama. That's going to be a late night mode that's going to develop Friday night into early Saturday morning. And this tornadic squall line is going to chug all the way through the central and southern U.S. and even into the southeastern U.S. during the day on Saturday. So I'll probably chase all night, Friday night into Saturday morning, and I'll still be on this squall line that by this time is into eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee by Saturday at sunrise, all the way down into northern Alabama, down into east central Mississippi as well. And this squall line is going to march right across the Appalachians. And look at this low-level jet accelerating to the east of the Appalachians here by Saturday morning. And I think that tornado threat is going to march all the way over the Appalachians and then over the Carolina Piedmont during the day on Saturday, just in time for peak heating. Probably you'll get plenty of solar heating here to the east of the Appalachians, and then you get a 50 to 70 knot mesoscale low-level jet here developing just to the east of the Appalachians. And that's just as that squall line is going to be marching over the Appalachians. Likely tornado warnings here Friday afternoon, probably here in Team Dominator Mid-South headquarters, upstate South Carolina. Probably will have tornado warnings here Friday late afternoon and the evening hours. This is something that's going to be a moderate to high risk if it does evolve, even anywhere close to what you're seeing right here. This is on Friday afternoon at about 8 p.m. Let's take a look at the surface reflection of this outbreak. This is to the east of that megatrough. You expect a big-time surface low to develop east of a megatrough like that. Low 990s, probably will even be stronger than that, as well as it ejects. And this is over eastern Kansas by Friday afternoon. And look at that thing punch east. You're going to be marching a dry line feature or a Pacific front all the way into the central U.S. That's going to eject out of the Great Plains. And anytime you bring aspects of the West over into the central and eastern United States, that's when you get those big-time outbreaks. And that includes the advection of a dry line from the southern plains into the Mid-South. And you can see that dry line here marching through Missouri into central Arkansas, extending south from that dominant surface low over northern Missouri. A powerful warm front will be surging northward out ahead of this mid-latitude cyclone. And anywhere along and south of that warm front, you're going to have major severe weather potential. And by Friday evening at 0Z, this latest GFS model has that warm front all the way up into the Chicago area. Big time cold front surging down on the backside, likely a winter storm in the deformation zone on the northwest side of that surface low, locations like Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, eventually up toward Wisconsin, northern Michigan. My uncle's likely going to get hammered up there in Traverse City from this powerful mid-latitude cyclone. And then as we go overnight Friday, the tornado outbreak really starts to ramp up. Eastern Missouri, you're going to be talking about the entire state of Illinois here, Indiana, western Kentucky, all the way down the Mississippi River into central and northern Mississippi, western Tennessee there as well. But I just wanted to show you the surface reflection. Powerful mid-latitude cyclone Friday night, lifting all the way up to Chicago by about midnight. And then the cold air comes in back behind it, switching out of that rain likely over to snow. Northerlies back here. Deformation zone will be getting hammered. Northern lower Michigan, upper peninsula Michigan, central Wisconsin as well. And that front extends all the way south through the Ohio River Valley into the mid-south. And then you can start to see this southern mode organize on Saturday. And it looks like Saturday afternoon, big squall line marching through, front back behind it. Mega trough ejection happening here. Dew points aren't going to be a problem. Yesterday's system hardly penetrated into the Gulf of Mexico, and dew points are going to be immense. This is, let's go to Friday at 15Z, 60-plus dew points into southern Illinois by this time, and you're going to see these 60-plus dew points rocket all the way up to the Chicago area by Friday night. That's 21Z. May not make it that far north. Looks like the warm front, at least according to this, tries to make it up to Chicago, but you basically get into the 50s. 50s dew points in middle December can still generate severe weather, so I could see severe weather all the way up to the Indiana-Michigander border there Friday night. This is at about 10 p.m. Friday night, and it looks like that moisture axis shifts east relatively fast. Detroit, that warm front knocking on the back door there right near the Ohio-Michigan border, surging all the way up to the Toledo area, 60-plus dew points there into Toledo, mid-50s as well by midnight, Friday night into Detroit. And you just have maintenance of these mid to upper 60s all the way down across the Mid-South. By Saturday morning, you'll probably wake up to numerous tornado warnings down here, Memphis down to the Gulf Coast. And then the northern mode gets a little bit pinched off here, and then I think that we're going to shift toward a southeastern event during the day on Saturday. 50 to 70 knot winds, QLCS, tornadoes, renegades out ahead of the line. And that moisture advection ramping up to the east of the Appalachians here. The GFS is trying to show just low to mid 60s dew points across South Carolina and North Carolina, but I think that that's a little bit conservative, and I think that we'll easily be able to march these upper 60s dew points to the east of the Appalachians with that strong southwesterly low-level jet, almost in excess of 70 knots there. Let's take a look at some of the parameters here. That's Friday evening at 18Z, so let's step on over to 21Z. And look at that moisture just surge up through the Mississippi River Valley. That's your 0 to 3 kilometer EHI, which shows you the size, the immense size of this warm sector through the lower Mississippi River Valley up to the Ohio River Valley as well. The nose of that instability all the way up into southern Illinois, southern Indiana by 21Z. And it seems like you get a little bit of a decoupling happening here. Ahead of this jet streak on Friday evening, you get very favorable co-location of instability and that wind shear. Northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, up through the Missouri boot heel, western Kentucky into southern Illinois as well by 0Z. That seems to be the best co-location of wind shear and instability. And that area ejects to the northeast with that jet streak. All the way up to Indianapolis, southern half of Indiana, western and central Kentucky, central western Tennessee, down into northern Mississippi. That's going to be the mode here of the more substantial event. And then it leaves that instability, greater instability back through Louisiana. Probably some tornadoes down there as well. But I bet if we take a sounding here at 10 p.m. in southern Indiana, we're going to see an insane hodograph. An abundance of surface-based instability. Let me get rid of my head here so that you could see that hodograph in all of its glory. There it is. That is immense wind shear. That's a 1 kilometer wind of 55 knots. South-southwest, your surface wind about 20 knots out of the due south. All of the area enclosed within that large hodograph here. And you do expect a more shallow critical angle with these big-time outbreaks like this because the wind shear in the lower troposphere is really dominated by speed shear. Contribution of the speed shear. You do also have quite a bit of sufficient directional shear to add some curvature to that hodograph. But this has a 367 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity there enclosed within that hodograph. Your 0 to 3 SRH in excess of 400. You can see the directional shear in the wind barbs here in the lower part of the atmosphere, south-southwest to due southwest to more of a west-southwesterly direction aloft. Very deep cape surface-based instability with a 67 over 64 profile here. And this is relatively close to the Henryville area in southern Indiana. Basically, the whole entire southern Indiana, you're going to have equivalent soundings looking like that. Going back all the way down into central and western Tennessee overnight. Even more favorable hodograph shape there. A little bit wider of a critical angle. Wider than 50 degrees there. An abundance of surface-based instability. Tons of cape all the way up as well. So even though it looks relatively skinny, you have to remember that this is December, and the skinny cape will get it done, definitely. And there's probably going to be a bigger elevated mix layer as well, ejecting over that large warm sector. So I expect some drier air noses to work in here in the middle levels of the troposphere. A lot of times these long-range global models will kind of underestimate the robustness of that elevated mix layer. And then we go all the way down toward Tupelo Friday evening, and an even more nicely shaped hodograph 4 tornadoes. Your critical angle near 60 degrees. Due southerly surface wind down there into northern Mississippi. Southwesterly just above the ground. About 60 knots as well. Over to due west southwesterly aloft. Really what's going on here is every single sounding within this blob of coincident instability and wind shear is ejecting off to the northeast, but every sounding is going to be supportive of a significant tornado. Even down here into Louisiana, even those soundings, even though your critical angle is down near 45, there is your elevated mix layer closer to the southeastern quadrant of that trough ejection. You're probably going to bring an elevated mix layer further north into the northern mode as well. But a little bit further south, you don't really gain much more in directional shear, even though you do gain some instability with those temperatures into the 70s. A little bit of a skinnier hodograph, but still supportive of those tornadoes there. So basically, any sounding you look at within that massive multiple state warm sector is going to be supportive of that tornado threat. European model, in general agreement. At least we have to look at the 6C European. There's your megatrough ejection Friday evening. It's a little bit slower. Gains its neutral tilt just a little bit later, but still you can see this huge belt of strong middle tropospheric flow and quite a insane low-level jet here pumping through the Mississippi River Valley. That is an absolutely insane, asinine low-level jet right there. Pretty good cape. That's the 6C European model. Definitely showing where this massive warm sector is going to take shape on Friday night. Surface-based cape all the way up into central Illinois through the St. Louis area. And a little streamer of surface-based instability pumping northward through the Mississippi River Valley. Sorry, Louisianans, yesterday for getting Pearl River confused with the Mississippi River there when I was all zoomed in on that radar. I know that that's the Pearl River down there. But yeah, look at those 60s dew points. That's Friday at 7 p.m. European model, 6C European model. And we can look at soundings now. Let's look at one in Memphis on Friday evening. Seems like the European model doesn't do very well with thermodynamics as well as the GFS. But you can see down south you do have the better elevated mix layer, a little bit more favorable instability, still a decent hodograph as well on Friday evening. And I think we're going to see all of that come together as the 12Z European pops out. The 0Z last night, we can see the overnight Friday night evolution of that moisture. Mid-60s all the way up into southern Illinois. Indianapolis breaks into the 60s by midnight Friday night. And over top of that massive warm sector is a big low-level jet, 50 to 70 knot low-level jet axis there. I'll likely be chasing through Kentucky or Tennessee by this time. Maybe dropping down into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama as well. Definitely going to be a nocturnal event, Friday night pitch black event, and I'm going to get on these storms near Memphis and then rocket them eastward Friday night. I'll still be chasing by Saturday morning, likely in eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky here. Then I'll chase them over the mountains and then intercept a dozen tornadoes or so to the east of the Appalachians as well. So that's kind of my game plan. Might need to pick up some more phones as well to live stream to multiple platforms. Especially with this active pattern for Dixie Alley that's shaping up here this winter. Another system comes in behind this one in the long range. It doesn't look like it's going to close off California anymore, but it's just going to maintain this consolidated La Nina-esque jet stream across the United States here. One wave after another. This is why you had that super outbreak on the year 2 La Nina in 2011, because you have systems just like this happening in the spring, and they're not digging out that Gulf of Mexico. You have the reservoir of the 70s dew points sitting there. Back in 2011, that was late April when that pattern really ramped up. Basically the entire month of April, with over 700 tornadoes during that month. So here's what I would say, everybody. I think that it's going to be a big time tornado outbreak on Saturday. This was one of the old models, and watch the difference between this right here, which is the European, and the GFS model from yesterday morning, or maybe it was the day before when we did that, but look at that. That's a highly progressive, veered low-level jet, and you compare that with the European model, a lot more of a backed low-level jet, deeper system, ejecting from the southern plains across the Mid-South and the southeastern U.S. It just simply looks like a tornado outbreak is going to be imminent. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this weather briefing today. Hope you enjoy this thumbnail that I created. There's that thumbnail based on the Manchester tornado from 2003. One of my favorite tornado intercepts there. A wedge completely illuminated by sun, illuminating the funnel, almost a bright orange color. This is also the tornado that Tim Samaras measured the world record pressure fall with his turtle probe inside, greater than about 100 millibars. We did measure a pressure deficit greater than 100 millibars aloft inside of the Linwood, Kansas tornado in 2019 with one of our trackable sensors that we launched into that tornado with the model rocket. We're hoping to launch rockets again this spring from Dominator 3, especially if these variants, the coronavirus variants, get a little bit less severe with time. We're definitely hoping that the Canada border stays open and we can get Dominator 3 south of the border, launch rockets again, get the band back together, and start accomplishing some big-time science. For this outbreak on Friday night into Saturday, I'm going to have the gravitron sensors out there. So that's going to be these sensors. I'm going to be deploying a network of these high-resolution barometers out around the tornado and in the path of the tornado to try to measure gravity waves that'll be emanating from these tornadoes during this event. That's going to be exciting. And our science mission is powered by Flex Seal and also Facebook supporters that have been powering our science mission for 2 years, riding in the passenger seat during my storm chases the last couple of years. Thank you, Facebook supporters. I'll do another live Q&A. How about we do that live Q&A tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or I could do it 7 p.m. Central Time if there are more people that live in the Central Time Zone. I would assume that we have a lot more people in Tornado Alley that follow this channel. But I'm going to do another live Q&A provided exclusively for Facebook supporters this evening, and we can discuss the 0Z models as they come out as well. The 0Z models won't be out until about 10 p.m. Eastern Time, so we'll have to discuss the 18Z models. Unless you want to have that live Q&A a little bit later, let me know in the comments what time works best for you, and we can also have that at 0Z when the 0Z models come out, and we can analyze in greater detail what's happening with this severe weather event. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in this Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whatever day it is. I think it's Tuesday, and I'll probably be leaving on Thursday for this storm chase mode activation. Long duration storm chase Friday night through the day Saturday. and possibly into Saturday night as that trough ejects out over the Atlantic and the Gulf Stream. So have a great rest of your day. Never stop chasing.